One of my favorite souvenirs from my trips to Japan has always been the Hatsune Miku Taito uniform figure that I won at a Taito arcade. I think obviously a big part of that is because I feel a connection to this figure since I did win it as a prize from a crane game. UFO catchers are tons of fun to me, and both times I've gone to Japan, I have spent countless 100 yen coins trying to win little prizes, and thus I actually won this. And this time I was looking for the second version, but unfortunately I was unable to win it, though I was able to purchase it. That's right. This time I was able to get the Hatsune Miku Taito Game Station uniform figure Volume 2. I love Miku, and she's adorable in this uniform, but they have updated the uniforms for Taito Game Station, and thus they had to release a new figure. For a while these were in the arcades, and unfortunately they were out of the arcades by the time I got there. I looked all over trying to win one, but eventually I found a shop in Akihabara where I was able to pick her up for a pretty decent price. So with that said, does she live up to the original? Well, so far from the box, I think she very well may. But let's get into the box. Obviously, the front of the box shows a shot of the figure. It says Hatsune Miku up in the corner. There's some Taito branding as well as the Taito Game Station. And in Japanese, it says Taito uniform figure, basically. On the top of the box, it actually says that this is a collaborative project between Taito Game Station and Hatsune Miku. On the bottom, it has the same information, but with a darker color scheme. The color scheming of this box is perfect. The red and white with her blue hair and the blue uniform all contrast so well, and I absolutely love it. On the side of the box, we have two other shots of the figure from different angles. And on the back, which could very well also be the front, there's a nice close-up shot of the figure, and that expression is simply beautiful. Finally, as it was before, this figure was also illustrated by Mago, which is great because that illustration is absolutely adorable. The original one's box was also illustrated by Mago, and that is credited right down here, where it says Mago in hiragana. But with all that out of the way, why don't we go ahead and open this? And goodness, this one looks to be a little bit messier than the original. There's quite a bit of bubble wrap in there, which is great because this figure is in multiple pieces. But now that I've laid everything out, it doesn't look like it's too bad. I'm actually rather thankful that there's so much bubble wrapping in this box because these things fall from a pretty decent height when you get them in the UFO catcher, which could very well damage the figure, so this bubble wrap is well placed and definitely needed. But now that I have everything out of the box, it would seem that this is actually less pieces than the original Miku. Of course, we have the figure itself, the two pigtails, and a clear base that everything is seated on. So with that, there is minor assembly required. Originally, Miku has this adorable little antenna look with her short hair, and that's only because we're supposed to attach her pigtails. Each one has a specific shape that will fit into the left or right pigtail. So make sure you're eyeing that up correctly with the socket that goes on and plug her hair in accordingly. If you have any trouble plugging this thing in, I would recommend hitting it with a little bit of heat from either a hairdryer or I'm actually going to use my heat gun here. Not so much so that you warp the piece, but you do want to get that fitting comfortable to plug in the part. Once everything's all plugged in, you can go ahead and take her foot and plug that right into the base. There's a peg in the base, a hole in the base, a peg in her foot, and a hole in her foot, so it all plugs in rather nicely. And just like that, she's good to go. And goodness, I absolutely love this. And side by side, I've got to say there's really no comparison here. They almost look like different figures from different lines. They're so different as far as detail goes, and it's just so much better on the newer one. Now, of course, there's been a decent amount of time between the releases of these two, but man, the differences are just so vast that I really have to say that there's almost no comparison at all. As far as theming goes, I think that the new one works far better. She looks far more like a regular person. Her proportions are really great. Miku looks short and really cute, and everything here just kind of works. The wrinkling on her clothing is subtle but very effective and incredibly well done. The shading on the figure is far more than the original. They went far further with actually trying to detail this than they did with the first one. Even the prize in the hands is just so much more thematically correct. The one in the new one actually looks like a plush that you could win at an arcade, whereas the first one is holding an egg with a space invader inside of it, which, do those even exist? The first one is cute, and I do really like it, but it seems older. You can actually look at it and kind of compare it to old anime images. The way that anime used to be drawn is kind of what I'm getting from this. Whereas this new one, it's cleaner. Everything here looks far more detailed because they've had time to really develop this figure. And goodness, I absolutely love it. Even the shoes, something as subtle as this is so much better. The theming is so much more bold. The red band on the sole of the shoe is far louder than it was originally with the green. The one is far larger and noticeable from a distance rather than with the original, you kind of really having to look for it. At the edge of Miku's leggings, she even has tiny little Taito logos on her band of her leggings. The clothing is so nice looking. The denim look of the skirt and shirt, everything here is just so nice. The coloring is so much better than any other arcade figure I have. Again, little minor details like the tiny Space Invader logos look perfect, and everything here is just so pleasing to look at. Miku looks happy, her expression is of absolute bliss, and I gotta say, I'm absolutely in love with the way she looks here. You can even see some muscle creasing in her hand, which is just a great detail. Her hair is bold and shaded well, and it really just looks great. One thing I dislike about the original is that her pigtails just seem to be inverted. They're basically the same shape, but one is flipped from right to left. Whereas with the new one, there's so much unique shaping in the way that these were done. They really are two separate pieces in and of themselves. It just goes to show so much more design went into this one. Another funny thing is that the little tiny tuft of hair on the back of her head was kept, and it's just on the other side with the new figure. I've got to gush more about this new uniform because it actually really looks wonderful. It's so easy to look at and it really does catch the eye. The contrast of blue and red just works perfectly, especially on a cute little character like Miku. The gold buttons are a great accent, her headset is well placed, and everything here just flows well. The wrinkling is something that I'm really impressed with here. It's done so well. And it's even in her sleeves as well as the skirt, but man, the skirt just really pops out. I love the fact that she's wearing leggings this time as well. It's just a cuter look for Miku. And of course, like before, if you look very close onto her shirt, you will see that her name tag actually does say her name on it in Japanese, which is just another adorable touch. The original had it too, but you know, it's nice to see them carry that feature over. She's basically the same size as the other one, them both coming in at about 8.5 inches, which is a fine size for a figure like this. Another important thing to note is that expression. If you look at the newer figure's face, it's absolutely gorgeous. Her eyes are done so well, and the detail in them is strikingly better than the original. The style is certainly a bit different, but goodness, it just looks so much more qualitative due to how much detail was put in. Meanwhile, when you look at the original Miku, her eyes are kind of flat. It works for what it was, and it was a great figure for its time, but goodness, the new one just does it so much better. But I could go on all day long. She's gorgeous. From head to toe, pretty much all the details here are perfect. I noticed fewer quality control issues as well. She doesn't have any molding lines, she doesn't have any extra bits of plastic, no scratches or anything like that, nothing that I can really point out that's too problematic. Nothing here is too fragile or hard to put together, everything here just works. It's pretty much just as great as the first one, but with a more pleasing design. And because of that, this new Miku is going to top the charts and join the perfect club of a 10 out of 10. I love this figure, and I actually really like this line of figures. I hope that they keep working together with Mago and making awesome stuff, because so far these are hitting really hard for me. They're wonderful figures and I am going to keep them for a long time. You can find this figure sometimes online for around $30. To importer, yeah, $30 is fine. I would do that in a heartbeat just because of how much I really do love this design. So with that said, what do you think of this figure? Why don't you drop a comment below and tell me if you like the new one or the old one? Did you like this video? Well then leave me a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'm always releasing figure reviews every week. I'm going to link another video in the top left corner here, so if you want to check that out, or even if you don't, click it and it does help the channel. And with all that in the books, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, have an amazing weekend, and keep on collecting.